It's time for the Covrprice Top 10. This time we're going back 2 years. All right, guys, yes, that's right. We're going back 2 years with this Covrprice list. I want to remind everyone in the description down below is a discount code for Covrprice, as well as check them out over on YouTube. They do have some great content over there. So again, this list comes to us from our friends over at Covrprice. Focusing on their top 10, they reflect on what the top trends were 2 years ago. I'll take you through how each title's sales compare from 2 years ago, market values to today's current values. How did these comics do? What had a boost in price and what had a bust, and what better number? You know by now where we're starting. We're starting at number 10. This is Matrix comic book preview. 2 years ago, this book was propelled by the highly anticipated trailer for Matrix 4 Resurrections, with copies of this 1999 recalled Matrix preview moving briskly and hitting new high prices. Warner Brothers had deemed this book too mature and had ordered it pulped, adding to the allure it presented as it was Matrix fans were after. 2 years later, the film was released and failed to live up to the expectations. Most fans were left disappointed, leading to raw and graded copies falling into the bust category, as recent raw prices are trending at a near mint fair market value of $42. Graded books have fared arguably worse, as the current trending fair market value of a CGC 9.8 sits at $235, a drastic fall from its all-time high achieved in September of 2021 for $749. Now would be a great time to pick up the copy, as it doesn't have much potential to fall further and it appears to have set a new floor. However, it's unlikely to rise any further, barring any news on the Matrix front. Still, it's a killer book for fans of the franchise, and if you are a fan, this is probably a book in your collection, and if you haven't purchased it again, I mean, could it fall more? I suppose. Could it go much higher? Probably not. Let's get to number 9. This is Spider-Man number 1, back from 2012. Back in 2021, fans were pumped for Spider-Man No Way Home. Rumors were flying about the film, including what drove this book. It came into the limelight thanks to persistent rumors that Miles may appear in No Way Home, propelling the first meeting of Miles and Peter to a raw, near mint fair market value of $35 with a high sale of $183 for a CGC 9.8. 2 years later, that rumor has firmly been debunked with No Way Home, a smashing success, albeit with no Miles in sight. With the current raw near mint fair market value at $13 and a CGC 9.8 fair market value at $74, this book is a bust. It ran out of gas without the driving factor of Miles appearing in the film. It's back down to 2020 prices and presents an interesting buy. Miles does have a ton of potential to appear in the MCU down the line, but way down the line if so. Prices may fluctuate further, but if you see it and are inclined to own one, grab a copy because these prices seem pretty fair. And don't forget, right around the corner is Spider-Man number 2 for PlayStation 5. Miles and Spidey fighting together on screen. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually really hyped for that one. Let's get down to number 8. This is The Mighty Thor 134. This is an old book, guys. 1966. This is a real key here. Before we knew much about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, this book was trending thanks to the High Evolutionary. He was rumored to appear and have direct connections to Rocket Raccoon. Thanks to those rumors, it hit a high sale of $770 for a raw, very fine copy, while a CGC 9.4 hit $2,794. 2 years later, those rumors were on the money, treating fans to arguably the best Marvel film of 2023. It's not an argument. It was the best Marvel movie of 2023, and one of the most human stories in the MCU thus far. It resonated with audience and continues to drive the current market. High-grade slabbed copies are few and far between, so the closest comparison in a CGC 9.4 sold for $4,560 in 2022, all up almost $2,000 from its previous high in 2020. It appears to be a boost. However, an 8.5 sold in 2021 for $1,500 and most recently in July of 2023 for $408. The 2022 9.4 price may not best represent its current overall market value. Raw copies have not fared as well, riding the fine line between boost and bust. The raw numbers point to bust, but the floor for this book has risen. Now might be the best time to secure a copy. However, as we're not far enough away from the film's release and it's still fresh in the minds of many, it's better to let it cool further, but keep in mind the story has been told that drove it in the first place and likely won't see that success again, albeit anytime soon. This movie is on Disney Plus, so it might have a little bit of a bump with people getting excited about it again. Now, just remember, they did not kill off the High Evolutionary. He still exists in the MCU. I don't think we'll ever see numbers the way we did before, but I could see a bump with rumors of him coming back. Let's get to number 7. This is Amazing Spider-Man 361. 2 years ago, this book was on a tear. There was a heavy debate surrounding the depiction of Carnage in Venom Let There Be Carnage, but fans were pumped nonetheless. That made this book appear routinely on aftermarket lists everywhere, with a near-mint copy hitting highs of $265 just days before the film dropped, while CGC 9.8 copies topped out at $995. A few years removed from the film, the community has agreed that a villain like Carnage needs to be a hard R type of villain. It was less than stellar reception, which led to this book's tumble. Sales slowed dramatically overnight and have continued to dwindle. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $86, while a 9.8 sits at $412. It's a bust for this book, but not surprising based on a few factors. There are many of these books out there, and many high-graded ones at that. It has the potential to fall even further, but this book will always have one thing going for it. It's the first appearance of Carnage and a highly sought-after key for Spidey fans, which counts for something. If you want a copy, take your time. You should have your pick of the litter. This book is absolutely everywhere. Doesn't mean it's not a great book. I mean, think of Deadpool. That damn book is everywhere as well, and 9.8s are still crazy high. Why? Because they did a great job with him. Let's be honest. A great job. Carnage, it's a shame what happened. Let's get down to number 6. This is Sandman number 25. The hype was building for Sandman in 2021, mainly because it was set to release on Netflix that year. Well, that didn't happen, and this book cooled modestly after hitting a high sale of $45 for a near mint raw copy, while 9.6 topped at $200. However, Sandman did drop in 2022, leading this book to hit record numbers as acclaim for the series spread far and wide. 2 years later, this book is maintaining the number it hit in 2021 mostly. Raw near mint copies are at $40 fair market value, while CGC 9.6s sit at about $130, more in line with the most sales it hit back in 2021. This book could be considered steady as the potential to trend higher once again. Sandman Season 2 is rumored to be released in 2025, and with how well it was received, this book could see some added attention. Will it hit all-time highs of $550 for a 9.8 like it did in 2022? Doubtful. But if they adapt this direct storyline, maybe. But I doubt it. It could be a risky buy, as nothing is guaranteed, especially the sophomore season of a niche show. There is still time to see how it shakes out. I'm not sure how to feel about this one. I would sit and wait. Odds are it would drop more than it would rise. Just my opinion. Let's go to number 5. This is Pirate Queen number 1. 2 years ago, Bad Idea was taking the industry by storm. The third book in their final 5 titles, Pirate Queen, was the most recent Bad Idea edition, and fans wanted a piece. Raw sales hit highs of $28 with no graded sales at the time, due to how new it was. 2 years later, some of that newness has faded, and it currently is trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $8, with 9.8 sitting at $46. However, it's hit as low as $15 in a CBCS 9.8 in June. A CGC 9.9 just sold for $75. Without the newness and scarcity that drove fans to this book in the first place, it's a bust. Unless there's content, it's most likely never going to hit the peak of $150 for a 9.9 like it did back in 2022, but it's still an interesting book. Now might be the time to strike if you want to add this Bad Idea title to your PC. This is talk about just no. Let's go to 4. This is Star Slayer number 2. In 2021, fans were ecstatic to hear The Rocketeer would be rebooted for Disney+. Fans flocked to his first appearance in this book, pushing it to a high sale of $75 for a near mint raw copy and $566 for CGC 9.8. 2 years later, the fandom has received nothing. There is no casting announcement, costume design, or release date. Just zilch. Nothing. That hasn't done well for this book, and its current raw near mint fair market value of $29, while a 9.8 fair market value is at $195. This book is a bust across the board, but it is enjoying a new floor. While its price may have fallen, the hype for this project remains strong thanks to the dedicated fan base around The Rocketeer. If the movie ever does move forward, and now granted, we're in the midst of a writer's strike and everything, this book could rocket higher once again. You like that? Until then, it should remain flat and a good buy for those wanting The Rocketeer key. I would say if you want this, pick it up. It's like a post-hype sleeper. Everyone was excited. It's been so long now. How much further can it drop? I would say not much. Let's get to number 3. This is Nocterra number 1. In 2021, Bleeding Cool gave the community one of the most direct clues, stating, "I would advise comic book speculators to get ahead of the game here." That pushed this new Scott Snyder series to the top and high sale of $30 for a near mint raw copy, $180 for a CGC 9.8, on the back of the confirmation from Snyder that a TV deal has been reached. 2 years later, and not much has happened. We recently got a report that James Wan was attached to the project, but that hasn't done much for the value of this book. The current fair market value for a near mint raw copy is $3 with a 9.8 at $24. That's less than it costs to get it graded. This book is a bust, but fret not. The fact is that such a new book and is readily available kept the cost of entry relatively low. It has a ton of room to grow if that TV deal ever comes to fruition and can be had for cover price or sub case cost. Buy in for a book with potential like this doesn't get much lower. It's so cheap right now. It's below cover price. If you want it in high grade, you could buy a 9.8 for less than it costs to get one graded. Go grab it. We're down to number 2. And before we get into it, you know what to do. Hit that notification bell, the subscription button. Give me a follow on all the social medias. Don't forget, in the description down below is a cover price discount code. I don't get anything for it. It's literally just for you guys. Check it out, sign up, see how you like it, and let's get to number 2. This is Special Marvel Edition number 15. This book enjoyed a ton of attention in the aftermath of the release of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It hit high sales of a near mint for $12.50, while a CGC 9.8 copy peaked at over $20,000 in late August. However, since then, it has been crickets on the Shang-Chi subject. He's been relegated to title cards, and that's about it. For a film that was very popular and propelled a resurgence in interest in the character, Marvel hasn't done much with him since a major complaint of almost all new Phase 4 characters. That's led to the current near mint raw fair market value of $532, and an even bigger disparity as the CGC 9.8 fair market value tumbled to $4,378. The book is a major bust in 2 years, but a deceiving one. If Marvel had followed up the momentum of Shang-Chi, of what Shang-Chi achieved, those numbers would look different. It's also important to note that these current prices are way over what they were trending at when the character was announced to join the MCU. The content did give this key a permanent boost despite being far below that all-time high. However, now may be a great time to look at this book, especially if you're a fan of the character. Prices are half of what they were during the comic boom, and if Marvel ever decides what to do with this character, it could see a sharp rise, albeit it will likely never reach the heights it did of 2021. We're going to talk about a lot of books that will never reach the heights of 2021. This is just one of them. $20,000 on a 9.8 first appearance of Shang-Chi. I'd hate to be that guy. With that, let's get to the last book on our list. Here comes number 1. This is Amazing Spider-Man 546. The Spider-Man No Way Home hype train was in full swing 2 years ago. In a blink, and you'll miss it, moment from the trailer, a delivery truck was spotted with Feast on the side. Fans immediately jumped on the idea that Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative, could appear in the film. That saw a sharp rise in this first appearance, leading to high sales of a near mint raw copy of $31, $200 for 9.8. 2 years later, Feast did appear in the film, absent Mr. Lee. It was a fun theory, and Mr. Negative would have been amazing to see on the big screen, but it appears he's relegated to the pages for now. Recent near mint raw fair market value sits at $15, with a 9.8 copies faring a little better at $110. This book is also a bust, but falls in with many on the list. It still has a ton of potential, as Mr. Negative is a brilliant new addition to the Marvel Universe and a new adversary for Peter to take on. A future content appearance is very high. Fans want more stories featuring the duality this villain brings to the table, and now is an excellent time to pick up a copy of this book for the right price. All right, now let's do a breakdown on how bad this list was. While every book on this list is a bust, down significantly from their heights 2 years ago, not all have been relegated to that fate. Some, like SANDMAN and the mighty THOR, have remained relatively steady or seen a boost in some grades. Others, like Noctera or Marvel Special Edition, not so much. Still, most of this list holds potential, and now pricing aligns with what these books are worth. Remove the market hype thanks to TV or movie deals, and you get a clearer picture. We're in a completely different environment than 2 years ago, but opportunity lies around every corner. Always keep in mind that these markets can fluctuate wildly. However, if you love it, wait for the right time to pick one up, like, now. And don't regret it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Come back next time. I don't know if we're going back I think we're going back 3 years with the next video, which is going to be great. We're going back to 2020. Don't forget Covrprice's top 10 movers and shakers list. And as always, keep it comics.